Hello, hola, happy Sunday. How are you? Welcome in. Welcome to the channel. It's one of those days I was saying, I don't know if I want to do this video. They might take this video down. So make sure you share it out. Make sure you like it. I don't know what's going to happen in this video, but I feel something going to change, something going to move. Hopefully something positive will happen as far as what's happening with the migrants. Hopefully. One can hope. So I'm going to wait and see who all is going to come in before I start talking. So I know y'all see what's going on, and it's crazy that maybe because people that are making the decisions are just in it and they can't step back and take a look at how this is actually playing out, how it actually looks. It don't look good and it ain't playing out well. And they talking points are crazy, because the talking points for Dems is, well, the amount of crime that's happening now would be happening anyway, even if the migrants weren't here. Well, none of the crimes happening with the migrants would be happening if they weren't here. And then I've heard someone say, well, actually, I'm going to play it for you. I have a couple of clips in here that I'm absolutely going to play because it makes so much sense. And if you say that, well, today I can make sure that there's no more than 500,000 coming over or 300,000 coming over, then why can't you make sure that none is coming over? Let me go back and make sure y'all can see it. Okay. So I'm pretty sure by now you know that New York, the governor deployed, it's not two, she did deploy it, but this article is saying two because this was right before she did. 750 National Guard soldiers to check the bags on the subway. So this is on March 6th. New York governor will deploy 750 soldiers from state's National Guard to help New York City police check commuters' bags in the busiest stations in the city's subway system. And she announced that on Wednesday. Another 250 officers from the New York State Police and state-controlled Metropolitan Transportation Authority police will also join that effort. This is supposed to deter crime. She announced the deployment in response to recent high-profile assaults on commuters and transit workers. But she's not willing to stop all of these migrants from coming in. Crimes on the subway were down about 15% in February compared to the same month in 2023. So she wants to throw out all of that information. She said that commuters were not reassured by rattling off crime statistics. Exactly, because they're going by common sense. You can read me 50 million numbers, but if I'm seeing what I'm seeing, you can't tell me I'm not seeing it. She says that things are getting better. Doesn't make you feel better. She living in La La Land is what it seems like to me. I don't want to read this whole thing because I have other things to go with it. So soldiers of the New York National Guard, a military force jointly controlled by federal and state leaders, do not have arrest powers in peacetime, but will help police officers who do. New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who used to patrol the subway when he was a police officer, said he sent about 1,000 additional city police officers into subways in February after a January uptick in assaults and theft. Y'all can let me know. Is that about when they started receiving all of these migrants? That's what it's looking like. You have armed, long gun toting military men and women in the subways. Now, they're having issues with that now. So I'm going to get into that also. But it's saying that they're just supposed to be doing bag checks and occasional practice used by New York Police Department, in which officers set up tables near subway turnstiles and pick out members of the commuting crowd. I guess those who look suspicious to them. Let's see. Some people saying it's sending off wrong signals, is saying we don't feel our subways are safe, so we're going to add these additional people down here. They say that there are 38 robberies and 70 thefts, including pickpocketing on the subway system in February, compared to 40 robberies and 98 thefts in the same month last year. In her announcement, Governor said, an attack last week on a subway train conductor who was slashed in the neck by an unknown assailant while he leaned his head out of a window of his train. It is that bad where you are attacking not just the people riding the train, but the people actually driving it. You don't see an issue with this? And sure, I'm with you. Not all crimes are committed by the migrants, but there has been more crimes committed as of lately by the migrants. That's just my thought. So they had an issue with this. See this picture? Make sure you see, because I'm on my next article. Okay, y'all see it. I'll get to the comments in a minute. They have an issue with this long gun and all of them carrying the long guns. So National Guard soldiers no longer carrying long guns at the subway bag station. So she put them down there, serve and protect. No, they can't arrest anybody, but we need to intimidate and make it, so if you're thinking about doing something wrong, maybe you won't do it because we here. But because of optics, I gotta make this bigger, y'all, so I can see it. Give me a second. Yeah, your girl can't see as well as she used to. The National Guard soldiers checking the bags of subway strap hangers are no longer carrying their long guns on duty. This was confirmed by the governor's spokesperson. The spokesperson told AM New York Metro that immediately following the deployment of military soldiers in the subway system last week, the governor opted to direct the New York National Guard to stop carrying your assault rifles while checking those bags. How dare you? What if somebody had something? Well, I would think you would want them to carry it. You put them down there. They're supposed to do what they're supposed to do. So soldiers in the subway under the long-running Joint Task Force Empire Shield are only authorized to patrol the bag check stations. So no National Guard will be carrying long guns in the subway going forward, though they still will be carrying them at transit hubs like Grand Central Station and Penn Station as they did before. But they won't be doing it down there. The spokesperson did not immediately divulge a reason for the decision, which was first reported by the Daily News, but widely disseminated images of soldiers carrying assault rifles in the system seemed to do little to quell the safety fears within the system. So they can't carry these, y'all. They can't arrest nobody. On Wednesday, the governor ordered 750 National Guard troops and 250 members of the state police and MTA police to assist the NYPD in patrolling the subway system and to perform beefed up bag checks at busy transit hubs. Soldiers with big guns are nothing new in New York transit system. They have long been patrolling transport hubs like Grand Central Terminal, Penn Station, and Port Authority bus terminals and Regents Airport. Heavily armed police have also periodically patrolled the system since 9/11, and cops have been able to check bags since a deadly 2005 terrorist attack in London's transit system. So now, while we're talking about 9/11, let's get into what the great Elon Musk, who no one wants to hear from, has to say. And I think most times they don't want to hear from him because sometimes there's always two truths and a lie in stuff, as my friend would say. Elon Musk says Biden flying 320,000 unvetted migrants into the U.S. sets stage for something far worse than 9/11. And the next article that I'm going to go to after I get through this one, I'm going to let that video play. I think I have it queued up where it needs to be to make a point on this whole situation. And then we can get into the comments. So Elon Musk ripped President Biden administration for secretly flying 320,000. I couldn't believe the number. Flying unvetted migrants into the U.S., signaling that the groundwork is being laid for something far worse than 9/11. Musk issued the grave warning on Twitter on X on Tuesday, noting that it's just a matter of time that the U.S. faces another terrorist attack of that magnitude. And he's not the only one saying it, but they're going to call him crazy. This administration is both importing voters, and I've heard many people say that too, even in the Black community. We are understanding that we are being replaced. They're not fighting for the Black vote anymore. Let's open up these borders, because they'll be so grateful that we open up these borders that they will surely vote for us, because a lot of Black folk are waking up, and the ones who aren't, whatever. So he was, let me stop. He says, this is why groups on the far left fight so hard to stop voter ID requirements. Under the absurd guise of protecting the rights of your right to vote, the billionaire Tesla CEO said in a subsequent post that doubled down on his stance. He's not the only one with that stance, though. That's the thing. This is the tweet right here. His stance is a lot of people's thoughts right now. And maybe people who didn't even think that from before, they're fighting so hard for, well, you don't need your ID to vote, because they understand that not a lot of migrants have their IDs. They want that vote. Voter ID requirements have been at the forefront of political conversations in the walk-up to Election Day in November. though 36 states have laws requiring voters to show some form of identification at the polls. 14 states, including New York, California, and Washington, D.C., don't require any form of documentation to vote. While Democratic lawmakers have deemed voter ID laws requiring photos unconstitutional, Republicans have advocated for election reform as migrants increasingly overwhelm major American metros and now airports. But Republicans, they're not the end all to everything either, because a lot of them are making money off of these migrants being here. A lot of people are buying up properties, leasing out spaces that aren't even made to be livable spaces, turning them into livable spaces and pocketing money. So in the past 12 months, Biden's administration allowed at least 320,000 illegal immigrants to fly into 43 different American airports through a controversial program using the Customs and Border Patrol app, also known as CBP-1. That was created to let migrants apply for parole into the U.S. But let me tell you what it's also meant to do, and I found that out through this next video that I'm going to show y'all, is that we're doing it for free. We're telling them, when I say we, I just mean, them. They're telling them, just put this on your phone, and when you go to the airports, this will allow you to fly for free. Can you fly for free? Now, I don't fly, period. Okay. But do you fly for free? It's so much illegal stuff happening right now that the government is paying for through these dumb behind programs. We're going to give them health insurance. We're going to give them money on a debit card. We're going to give them a place to stay. Now you're trying to kick them out of some of the places. But so Musk grave warning suggested that migrants could be responsible for an attack far worse than 9/11, which has been responsible for at least 3,000 deaths. We all remember this. God rest their souls. We all remember this. It wasn't immediately clear where these migrants were flying in from. The Center of Immigration Studies has said that locations are kept under wraps due to fear that bad actors would inflict harm on public safety, or the information would create law enforcement vulnerabilities. In a lawsuit seeking to block Biden's CBP-1 program, the CIS added that the secretive flights are legally dubious. If the CBP refuses to disclose the locations for fear of grave consequences, it is likely not a program that should continue. Look at this. Look at this. Everybody that's, Lord Jesus, everybody that's coming in, not coming in for the same reasons. We all realize this. Well, not all. Some people realize this, that not everybody coming in mean us well here. Not everybody's looking for the American dream, whatever that is. Because for some Americans here is living a nightmare. They don't have a place to live. But yet the government said, let's give these people a place to live. And the homeless are looking like, you mean to tell me you could have gave me a place to live all this time I'm living on the street. You could have gave me health care, especially the veterans. You could have did all this for me, and you didn't. Shame, shame, shame on America for doing that, for not doing it. Musk has notoriously been outspoken against Biden's lax border policies, especially since visiting the southern border in Texas in September, when he said he witnessed some pretty extreme migrant crossing into the U.S. Musk mentioned during a live stream from Eagle Pass how he heard a man hopped the border with facial tattoos, including teardrops. And we all know what that means, which he said means they have MR'd somebody or some people. And they are so proud of having MR'd somebody that they put that teardrop there. Because the same thing, a lot of gang members do here in the United States. One tear on their face for every one person that they Cade. After Eagle Pass declared a state of emergency last year over the unprecedented arrival of thousands of migrants, and New York City was alarmed that it was running out of social services and financing to support the 100,000 plus migrants in the Big Apple. Musk said migrants will come for your homes next. How many of y'all believe that? That's his opinion. He's entitled to it. We all are entitled to our opinion. We don't have to like or agree with anybody. Just try to be respectful, especially in my comments, because I'm not looking at them right now, so I don't know what y'all saying. This is what happens when you run out of hotel rooms, he says. Soon cities will run out of schools to vacate. Y'all remember they did kick some kids out of their school for a day or two so the migrants could go in there. Education is so important for migrants. Then they will come for your homes, he said. Musk said in a Twitter post, I'm sorry, I hate saying X, in response to a video of a yellow school bus dropping migrants off at James Madison High School in Brooklyn earlier this year, which closed school for the day to accommodate the migrants during a rainstorm. How many people do we see, U.S. citizens born in the USA, raised in the USA, get put up other than winter time when it's like below a certain degree? Then they'll open up extra shelters and stuff like that. You don't see it. You just don't see it. So let me find my last one. I'll stop sharing for a minute because I need to find that one. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear this. Hey, Martin, how are you? Hey, Truth Seeker. Hey, Daryl, Prepper Moon. I'm sorry. Well, it's 66 degrees. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to do my walk out there. My husband's like, are you going to go fishing? I'm like, no, I ain't got my license yet. I haven't renewed it. Okay, y'all can hear it. Let's get to it.
System deals with them to get them in line so they don't end up with the rest of their life ruined. But before I turn it over to my colleagues here, they worked with us to make this happen. And what this is, and I want everybody to see it clearly, federal policy drives illegal immigrant crime and victimization. And that's the focus, other than our victims of human trafficking. Listen, folks, I want to introduce you to Andres Gil, okay? Here's this guy. He's also on this board, but get a look at him for a second. He came down here from New York with 3 females. All of them are in the country illegally. Did you hear what I said? They're all here illegally. He's the one that comes with them to drive them. These ladies are all controlled by a human trafficker. We think their human trafficker is a female. She sets up their appointments. She puts their ads online. She tells them where to go. And by the way, on Friday, the victims of human trafficking, and we've grayed them out, 3 of them that are here illegally from Venezuela, 3 of them have to pay her $3,000 a piece on Friday, or else they're threatened. So they're not free. They're really indentured, and they're quote unquote paying off their debt. Now, here's what they told us, all right? I'm sure the federal government will verify that this is not true, but you decide who you want to believe, whether you want to believe these victims of human trafficking or the whitewash the federal authorities give you. They said that when they came into the country illegally, DHS gave them a form, an ID, paperwork that allows them to fly for free. You know, Southwest would let your bags fly free. Well, the federal government will let your illegal immigrants fly free. And they operate out of New York. And they were working up there, and the New York authorities said, hey, if you don't have identification, you can't work in our sex trade up here. You know, we don't allow sex trade here at all, but New York will allow you to do some stuff if you've got the proper authority. So they say they make a lot of money. They're addicted to it. These ladies are going to give you more details. They tell us that they fly to major metro centers for free on the federal government, where they set up their appointments for sex all around the country. Did you hear what I said? Listen, folks, if they don't pay $3,000 a piece on Friday, they're in trouble. The human trafficker sets up the deal. Hey, this deal is just outside of Tampa. They say they show this ID, this card, this paper, they fly for free down here. Then they fly back. But we heard a similar theme from all 21 of these folks. We can't work legally. We're addicted to this cash. It's a lot of cash and it's quick, so we have to give $3,000 a week. We get to keep everything above that. We have a crisis at the border. And because of the crisis at the border, we have people that are victimizing illegal folks, forcing them into the sex trade because we allow these criminals in the country illegally. We all rail about this and nobody pays any attention. And then we want to politic everything. Oh, we had a good piece of legislation that limited the average to only 5,000 illegals a day in the country, and then we can shut it off. Well, if you can shut it off at 5,000 people illegally coming in this country a day, you can shut it off at no people illegally coming in this country a day. But the politicians are politicking while the victims are being victimized. I read an article this week that says, well, the illegals coming here aren't committing crime at any greater percentage than the people who are here legally. What they didn't tell you is if they weren't here illegally at all, the crime they would commit here would be 0. So we're being victimized. But that doesn't make any difference on the national level. You see, because they sit up there behind their gated communities and in Congress, and they play politics back and forth between the two parties, while illegals are victimized, citizens are victimized, children are victimized, And you got this goofy looking kid here who's making sure that they come up with $3,000 a week apiece, and he's here illegally. It's a mess, and it doesn't have to be. If we can deal with it and catch it on the local level, they can stop it on the federal level. Shame on all of them, every one of them, for not getting together and saying, you know, there are things bigger in this country than my individual politics. So now we'll start with
Sheriff Grady Judd speaking in Polk County on this major human trafficking bust.
We ain't even gonna get into no Diddy. Let's stop sharing. Now, signs say this is a gun-free zone. Did they tell that to the criminals? Because see, they want you to be gun-free. Turn your weapons in, turn them over, get a rebate, get a gift, get whatever. But you know who ain't turning theirs in? They waiting for all y'all law-abiding citizens to turn your weapons in. Get rid of your Second Amendment. Because it's going to make it easier for us. That's the criminal mindset. They're for that law. That law is made for them. I'm only going to play a little bit of this. I don't know what's in it. I just ran across it, and I thought I'd share it because this person just put it out 6 hours ago, and it's already at 284,000 views. But mind you, he's almost at 1 million subscribers. So shout out to Cash Jordan. Never watched the channel before.
Police say more than 24 people were involved in 2 separate attacks last night.
Both of these violent crimes were committed by large groups of people, many of them teenagers. Detectives question 10 suspects they have in custody, but say more than a dozen are still on the run.
Well, that's reassuring. Kind of.
Police investigating 2 violent attacks that happened just hours apart in Times Square.
This same area, you have multiple migrant shelters. This is the location where 2 NYPD officers were attacked by a group of migrants just last month.
This knife and this broom handle, police say, were involved in an attack seen from surveillance video near 8th Avenue and 42nd Street.
What does all this say about safety in that area?
Everything just seems out of control.
I mean, it's definitely not something I've seen in the last 12 years that I've lived here.
ICE confirming that 2 of the suspects in this case are members of a brutal Venezuelan gang. That gang is called Tren de Aragua.
This is the issue. They're allowing these people in. They're not vetting. They don't know who these people are. They don't know what they intend to do. Most of them were already affiliated with gangs. They didn't just create a gang when they got here. They're already a part of it. If we flood the gates, some of us gonna get through. That's all we need, is some of us to get through. Our laws mean absolutely nothing to some Americans. So do you really think it means anything to them?
Which city leaders do not want to talk about. But before we uncover what these recent events mean for New York City and its sanctuary status, it's important to understand that critics are saying this could just be the beginning of a much larger, much more frightening trend here in New York.
A 19-year-old charged in the attack on cops is now accused in a robbery, and questions are growing about why he was let out in the first place. Eyewitness News report.
So this is...
Now, do you know that this kid who's they're now showing, because they're charging him as an adult, they're actually charging him and not letting him go like they've let so many other migrants go. He did the crime, ran back to a house. The fact that he had a house to run back to when there's a lot of people who don't have a home, a roof over their head, and he ran back to a house that his mom was staying in and was hiding behind the dresser. Now, I've watched this guy before, Cash Jordan, because he's the one that broke that whole thing about, I mean, he got boots on the ground. You see him, he's there. And he did this whole video about the slumlords and the people in higher ups, the city telling one company that owned a building in a area that was like industrial and chemicals and stuff like that, told them that they couldn't get a certain license to make it an apartment years ago. Then all of a sudden, that owner, he didn't sell the building, he rented it out to someone else that has ties with the government. And then all of a sudden, everybody was willing to give them the permits they needed to turn it into a living situation. Mind you, they didn't take away any of the chemicals that could have been there. They just started putting Band-Aids on stuff, throwing beds in there, and charging money. So this is about money. It's more people for migrants being here than it is against. And the ones that are for it are billionaires because they are making money.
Considered to be a misdemeanor. And critics say watching videos like this explains a lot, and it also explains why we as New Yorkers should get used to hearing about more and more incidents like this as time goes on and the laws remain the same. And once you understand the shocking events that unfolded right here, you'll understand why.
These car hacks are going to make you.
Yeah. So I don't know which video it was. I wish I knew so I could tell y'all to go watch it. Let's see. Well, let's look at this one. Because there are a lot of, we're all focusing on Mexico, Venezuela, whatever, Colombia. We're not focusing on the Chinese that are migrating here, and they're going into places we don't know where they are because they have so many houses for them to go stay in until I guess they get a whistle, dog whistle, whatever.
Asylum, many of whom are from South America fleeing extreme poverty. But there's another migration taking place to America, one that's caught everybody completely by surprise.
Chinese migrants. Yes, you heard that right. We saw large groups, including many from the middle class, come through a 4-foot gap at the end of a border fence.
Border Patrol now reports a 900% spike in Chinese migrants crossing the southern border.
This man, a college graduate, told us he hoped to find work in Los Angeles.
So there are actual members who are in the People's Liberation Army, and they are here in the United States.
And really what we're talking about.
Let's call that boots on the ground. How can you reach us? What's the fastest way to do it? Well, Biden said, let's open up the borders. Let's let these people through. And now we have people who are in this military that have boots on the ground here in the United States. And you're trying to say we don't have a problem with possibly coming under attack?
Is China putting together the infrastructure in the U.S. to attack the U.S.
Why did you decide to come to the United States?
Oh, it's hard to live there, hard to find jobs.
Did you work in China?
I work in the factory, but
Now, I'm not saying that China is going to invade the United States, but if we were to defend Taiwan, you have to think that this is a part of some plan or strategy.
Most people
I'm telling you.
have no clue that in 2023, the best way to make money on Amazon is not with.
No.
So over 200,000 people from Venezuela came to the United States in 2023. And that's what we usually think about in America when we think about immigration. We think of people from South America fleeing extreme poverty. But a migration from China, that's not something that most of us have ever heard of. And it brings up a lot of questions.
Customs and Border Protection reported more than 24,000 Chinese migrant encounters at the southern border last fiscal year. In 2021, that number was just 450. Did you just arrive here?
So China is 7,000 miles away from the U.S. southern border. That's the opposite side of the earth, making the journey from China to America one of the longest migrations of any group coming to the U.S. And believe it or not, the number of folks coming here from China is increasing at an increasing rate. But before we uncover the real reasons why this is taking place, it's important to understand that Chinese Americans have made many contributions to this country, most of which do not get the recognition they deserve. For example, most people don't know that the U.S. Transcontinental Railroad was built by Chinese immigrants. That was 150 years ago, and this is a World War II memorial for Chinese Americans who gave their lives in defense of freedom and democracy. But some people, not everyone, think this migration is different than those of yesteryear, for reasons that are somewhat difficult to talk about. Either way, 10 times more people from China entered the U.S. through Mexico last year than the year before, and those numbers are 50 times higher than 2 years prior to that. So
I don't want to show all of his video, but I want you to see some of it. I was looking at the comments, and I believe I said in the beginning, if you missed it or somewhere in the middle, do not believe everything I say. Go look for it. Do not believe everything everybody else say. Go look for it for yourself. This information is out there. So I'm looking, and I'm seeing some people having some back and forth. I appreciate you saying, Prepper Moon, fact check everything, but I got this on my end. This is my channel. And I always say, fact check. Find more than one source. So this is not me telling you this is what's happening. I'm showing you in videos. I'm telling you what's happening, but it's up for you to believe it. It's up for you to go and seek this information for yourself. So I'm not attacking Prepper Moon. He's right. Everybody should fact check everything. Hey, Happy Mac. Well, I see now they're trying to lock up migrants. I saw that the other day. But the question is, like in New York, were they not tied in with ICE? So when they locking them up, they can't call ICE and say, hey, I got these people, you know, they're breaking the law. I need you to get them and fly them on back where they came from. Until they pass that law, it's not going to be a change.
Flow into the city as frustration is to flow into the city as frustration is mounting among Chicago residents. In just about an hour, a protest is set to kick off outside of South Shore.
Another state facing similar situations that New York is facing, but they're a little more outraged than New York. The residents there are a little more outraged. They're speaking up. I don't know if anything gonna change, but they're speaking up.
High school.
And earlier this afternoon, hundreds of migrants reportedly arrived at O'Hare Airport. As we take a live look at the building right near
free airplane rides.
Terminal 5, where a number of families have been staying.
And here's the latest data from city officials. It shows Chicago shelters housing more than 9,800 migrants, while more than 3,000 still await placement. More than 17,000 migrants have come to Chicago since last year. And all this happens as we found a surprise at police stations downtown.
The buildings where dozens of migrants had been living were cleared this afternoon with the doors locked. Casey Cronus was there. She joins us on her way to check out the situation at O'Hare. Casey.
Hey, Anthony and Natalie, that's right. We will keep you posted on the situation at O'Hare as soon as we arrive. But about an hour and a half ago, take a look. We visited Chicago Police District 1, located at 17th and State. There, with the help of our photographer, Raphael, who translated for us, we spoke with a migrant who says he ventured here from Venezuela. Like so many others, he's been staying in the lobby of that police station. But he tells us this morning, officials at the district moved all of the migrants outside along with their belongings.
So this outside the police station, y'all.
And we weren't even allowed inside the lobby. The migrant we spoke with told us that most of the women and children were picked up and taken to other shelters, but it's unclear where those who are left are supposed to go. And
have y'all ever seen something like this before in your life? Were they trying to house them at the police station? And the police station, oh, y'all got to get out of here. So now they outside the police station. I don't know where all this is headed, but it cannot be good.
We haven't received a clear response from city officials or police. Meanwhile, as we look into reports of crowding among migrants at O'Hare, city officials just in the last 20 minutes told us that migrants are not being bused there from the city. Rather, we're told they are arriving on planes from San Antonio. However, just in the last 15 minutes, our crew on the ground at O'Hare reported seeing a yellow school bus dropping migrants off. It's unclear where those migrants were bused from. We will continue to bring you the latest on this developing situation as soon as we arrive there. Anthony, Natalie.
Y'all, that's crazy. That is absolutely insane. Well, yeah, there'll probably definitely be civil unrest, but the nation's already divided. So it's just a play on what we are already dealing with to make it even worse. And then they can step in and say, well, I can fix this for you. But you're the one that started this, sir. That people will vote their conscience and not just vote because this is what I've always voted for. Like I've always been a Republican or I've always been a Democrat. But vote how it's affecting you, regardless of who you're voting for. And know when you're voting that no matter who you vote for, they're not going to do everything right. They're not going to be politically correct. You may not even like them, but you like the life you know you could possibly have that might be a little bit better than it is right now. Yeah, that's it. Vote your wallet. And that's what they're afraid of, that people will vote their wallet. So we need to try to rush these people in here right now before November hit and see how we can get them either somewhat legalized or just, postpone people needing their ID to vote. Because these people who live here, they might be voting their wallet because they're seeing their tax dollars being spent on housing for migrants, and they're not seeing their tax dollars spent on men and women who served the country, fought for the country, who are living on the streets or are dealing with addictions and health issues. My husband was in the military. My husband has injuries. but he's forced to continue to work as hard as he's working, which he would work regardless, but even harder because y'all don't want to give him the appropriate disability. You only want to give him 10% when he served 100%. You only want to give him 10%, but you give these migrants who come here, not going to serve the country, not going to do this, not going to do that, but you're giving them 100% pretty much disability. You ain't got to work. We're going to give you this check. You ain't got to work. We're going to give you this Medicaid. You ain't got to work. We're going to buy your food. We're going to put you in a place to live. We're going to do all of these things. So excuse me if I'm venting, and I come from that place of we're working hard to support our family, to pay for our child who's in college, one about to go to college this year, you know, keep the one in college, you know, where he don't have to have a job at this moment, even though he got an internship this summer, so that he can stay on the dean's list, which he is on. We working hard. And then when we say, okay, well, I have these injuries, and, you know, first you say, well, we can't find your paperwork. This is what they told my husband. We can't find your paperwork. Then it was, well, you got to keep going, and you just got to keep fighting for it and all this. He ain't fought enough. Whether he was in a war or not, he still signed up to risk his life for this country. It shouldn't matter how the injury happened. There is an injury. How are you going to help him? Does he need to now denounce his citizenship, leave the country, come in through a border wall, and say, hey, I need some health care? So we ain't got to keep paying out our pocket for health care. So I can see more than just the VA with my 10% disability. Y'all don't understand. Some of y'all don't understand. Because not everybody who go to the VA really want to go to the VA. They really want to see a specialist about what's happening. But if you only got 10%, you going to the VA. Because if you go see a specialist, first of all, they got to refer you to one. Most times you only going to do a phone consultation for your doctor's appointment. You ain't even got to go in person. Yes, Susan, it's real. And then they get to the point, well, maybe we keep denying him the 100%. And he's like, I don't even care if I get 100%, but can I get 80? Can I get 80 on it? Well, maybe if we deny these people enough, they'll just give up, get tired. And that's pretty much the mindset my husband be in. But I have to be on him. No, you're not going to stop fighting for this. Because one, if you had the 100%, we wouldn't have to take all of our resources into mortgage. Yeah, we got to still pay our mortgage, but we got to pay for our son to have a living place too. We got to pay for him in school, you know, whatever the loan doesn't pay for, we got to pay it. But if you had your 100%, now you helping my family, because he went in. So, you know, down the road, this will help his family one day when he have one. Well, guess what, sir? I have a family now. Can you help me, please? Please. Why we got to beg for everything that you said you would give us if we participate in your program, because that's all it is. But then people can come over here, breathe United States air for 2 seconds, and they can have, y'all, these are C's, but they can have this right here. They can have that. They can have this. Come on now. We got to do better. Well, they've printed so much money, Nay, that they're devaluing the dollar. and other countries know it. That's why they leaving the United States out of a lot of stuff that they doing when it comes to digital things. Down to. Thank you for coming in, Pepper Moon. I appreciate it. I appreciate all opinions. I don't have to agree with everybody. What would we be if we agree with everybody? Right? Not only will we be boring, but we will be controlled. Well, y'all, I'm gonna go. I thank y'all for coming in. Sorry for venting, but it's annoying, it's frustrating, but it's life. We just have to keep going and keep going and keep going and demand, not beg, demand what is ours. Y'all have a blessed day. I'm about to go for my walk because my child don't have to go to work. So I'm going to take as long as I want to on this walk, take in the sights. Try not to be tempted to go and get my fishing license so I can fish this week because I have seeds to plant this week. I cannot be on nobody's bank. I got to get them seeds in. But y'all take care. And thank y'all for coming in. I appreciate it. Thank you for hitting the like button. If you did, if you got anything from this, please hit it. Share it out with others, because I promise you, YouTube gonna suppress this video because it does not fit any kind of agenda they want out there. And the best way to keep them from suppressing it and not pushing it out to other people is to hit that like button and to share it out, so they have no other choice but to recommend it to other people. You're welcome, Martin. Thank you for, the stuff that you send me. I haven't been able to, I don't know if I've done some of them or not. I'm just so behind on emails and everything else. My dad, I had to go visit. I had to go to South Carolina because I was going anyway because I have some property down there. I had to put some signs up on the property. But when my brother called and said, text us in a group and said, my dad had fallen twice in one day and he was at the emergency room and he ain't really walking. So I'm like, yep, gotta go. Can't put off going now. So I went to visit him. I also visited with my mother. My dad's gonna have to have some kind of rehab, probably in some form of nursing home or whatever. He really wants me to come down there and stay with him after the fact, I guess, because he knows that I was thinking about moving back to South Carolina after my daughter goes off to school, because I don't want to be here when my husband's on the road. I'm like, I don't have any other family here. So we'll see where that go. I do have a video coming out on me showing the property on my other channel. I'm working on, I just got through editing it. It's supposed to be up today, but it may not get up till tomorrow. Either way, y'all check it out over there on Bless This Nest Life with Tommy Bites. And subscribe to that channel if you have not. I'm trying to grow it over there. I don't do news stories over there. So for people who say this is too much, you're fear mongering, well, go check out my other channel. I don't do no news over there for people like that, and just for people who just want to see somebody homesteading or peaceful and relaxing type of videos. So y'all take care. I love you, but God loves you more. He created only one you. Be the best you that you can be. And when you are, go out and spread God's love. Peace, love, and light. Thanks for being here on Tony Banks Homestead. I'll holla.